She was invisible to her boss, until one phone call made the CEO lose control. Hello, everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It is quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support truly means the world to us. Where are you watching from right now? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let us return to the main character. She is sitting at the long conference table, slightly off to the side, where the glass reflects everyone else but barely catches her face. The room smells like fresh coffee and expensive cologne. Floor-to-ceiling windows frame the city skyline, all steel and sunlight, 12 stories above the street. The kind of room where decisions worth millions of dollars are made with a nod or a raised eyebrow. She takes notes quietly, always does. Her name is Emily Carter, and for the last 2 years, she has worked here as an executive assistant. Not the kind with a corner office or a name people remember. The kind who anticipates meetings, fixes schedules, and smooths disasters before anyone important even notices there was a problem. Especially him. At the head of the table sits Alexander Reed, the chief executive officer, early 40s. Tailored navy suit, calm, controlled, and untouchable. The kind of man who speaks once and everyone else stops talking. The kind of man who signs contracts that decide the fate of entire companies. He does not look at Emily. Not when she slides the correct file toward him before he asks. Not when she quietly corrects a number on the printed agenda. Not when she mouths, "You are welcome," after solving a scheduling conflict that would have collapsed the entire meeting. Her ideas are repeated by others and suddenly praised. Her presence is functional, replaceable, invisible. Emily is used to it. She learned a long time ago that being invisible is safer than being noticed. Invisible people do not make enemies. Invisible people do not get blamed. Invisible people survive. Alexander's voice cuts through the room, calm and precise, as he outlines the next phase of a corporate merger. Board members nod, pens scratch against paper. Someone laughs at a joke that is not very funny. Then Emily's phone vibrates. Once, she freezes. Her phone never rings during meetings. Never. Only one person would call her at this hour, knowing she would pick up. She glances down. Unknown number. Her heart tightens. She should ignore it. She knows the rules. Phones are off. Personal lives do not exist in this room. The phone vibrates again. A third time. Something about the insistence makes her uneasy. Slowly, carefully, she slides the phone into her lap and answers in a whisper. Hello? The voice on the other end is low, steady, unmistakably male. Emily, it is me. I need to talk to you, now. Her breath catches. It is not flirtatious. It is not casual. It sounds urgent, intimate, like someone who knows her well enough to skip explanations. She swallows. I am in a meeting. I know, the man says. That is why I am calling. Her fingers tighten around the phone. I cannot do this right now, she whispers. There is a pause. Then the man says, Softer, please, just listen. At the head of the table, Alexander Reed stops speaking. The room goes silent. Emily does not notice at first. She is too focused on the voice in her ear, on the sudden weight of it, on how it makes her feel seen in a way she is not used to feeling at work. Then she feels it. The shift. She looks up. Alexander is staring directly at her. Not past her, not through her, at her. His jaw is tight. His eyes are dark, sharp, locked onto the phone in her hand like it is an insult, or a threat, or something he did not expect to see. Is there a problem, Emily? He asks. He has never said her name like that before. Every head at the table turns toward her. Heat rushes to her face. She straightens in her chair, suddenly too aware of her own breathing. I am sorry, she says quickly. It is personal. The word lands wrong. Alexander's expression does not soften. It hardens. Step outside, he says. It is not a suggestion. Emily stands on unsteady legs and walks out into the hallway, the glass doors closing behind her with a soft but final click. Her heart is pounding now. She brings the phone back to her ear. What is going on? She asks. On the other end, the man exhales slowly. I am running out of time, and so are you. She leans against the wall. the hum of the building vibrating beneath her feet. "You said this would not interfere with my job." 027. "I said I would protect you," he replies. "But this is bigger than that." Inside the conference room, Alexander Reed remains standing. He does not sit back down. The board members exchange confused glances, but no one speaks. They all see it. The clenched fist, the rigid posture. The controlled man, suddenly very close to losing control. He looks at the closed glass doors, at the hallway beyond them, at the woman he never noticed. And for the first time, Alexander Reed feels something sharp and unfamiliar twist in his chest. Jealousy. Emily stays in the hallway long after the call ends. The line goes dead, but the weight of the words does not. The building hums around her. Elevators glide. Someone laughs somewhere down the corridor. Life continues as if nothing has shifted, as if her world has not just tilted slightly off its axis. "You are running out of time." In time supplies. She presses her phone to her chest and exhales slowly, forcing her breathing to steady. She knows exactly what that means. Time has never been on her side. Emily did not come to this city chasing ambition or prestige. She came because her mother's medical bills kept growing, because the numbers never quite balanced no matter how many hours she worked. She came because stability sounded like safety, and safety sounded like survival. This job was supposed to be that. An executive assistant role at one of the most powerful corporations in the country looked impressive on paper. Health insurance. Predictable income. A future that did not feel like it might collapse at any moment. She told herself she could endure being overlooked, if it meant staying afloat. Invisible was acceptable. Replaceable was manageable. Unemployed was not. Inside the conference room, voices rise again. The meeting resumes without her, just as it always has. Emily straightens her blouse, smooths her hair, and walks back in like nothing happened. She takes her seat. She lowers her gaze. She becomes efficient, quiet, invisible once more. But Alexander Reed does not look away this time. He watches her from the head of the table with an intensity that makes her skin prickle. He does not ask about the call. He does not say her name again. He finishes the meeting in record time, dismissing the board with clipped efficiency. When the room finally empties, Emily gathers her notes, already rehearsing an apology she does not plan to deliver. She reaches the door when his voice stops her. "Emily, stay." It is the first time he has ever asked her to stay behind. She turns slowly. The room feels larger now, colder. Alexander stands by the window, the city stretched behind him like a kingdom he owns. He does not invite her to sit. "That call," he says evenly. "Will it interfere with your work?" The question is professional. The undertone is not. "No," Emily answers honestly. "It will not." He studies her face as if weighing something unseen. "Good," he says, "because I have a proposition for you." Her stomach tightens. "This is not about your performance," he continues. "You are competent, reliable, discreet." He pauses. "Which is why I am speaking to you." She does not interrupt. She has learned that silence makes powerful men talk. "I need someone I can trust," Alexander says, "and I need it immediately." He turns from the window and finally looks directly at her, not as an assistant, but as a person. The shift is unsettling. "What I am about to offer you is not part of your job description," he says. "You are free to refuse." She nods, though every instinct tells her refusal is not really an option. "My family's board has imposed a condition on an upcoming deal," Alexander continues. "A condition tied to optics, stability, appearances." Emily's heart begins to race. "They want a wife," he says calmly, "and they want her before the next quarter ends." The words hang in the air, heavy and unreal. "This would be a contract," he adds, "precise and controlled. A temporary arrangement. You would be compensated generously. Your position here would remain secure. Your personal circumstances would be protected." Emily stares at him, the meaning crashing over her in slow, staggering waves. "You want me," she says quietly, "to pretend to be your wife." "Yes," Alexander replies without hesitation. She thinks of the phone call, of the urgency, of the time she does not have. Invisible suddenly does not feel so safe anymore, and walking away suddenly feels impossible. Emily does not answer right away. She sits across from Alexander in the private conference room, the smaller one on the executive floor where the glass is frosted and the silence feels intentional. A leather folder rests on the table between them, closed, heavy, waiting. This would be strictly professional, Alexander says, as if clarifying a line item. No emotions, no expectations beyond what is written. Emily keeps her hands folded in her lap. She has learned that reacting too quickly gives away leverage she does not have. "And if I say no?" she asks. Alexander meets her gaze without flinching. "Then I will respect your decision, and I will find someone else. And Optender David a day." They both know what that means. Someone wealthier, someone connected, someone who will not need to think twice. Emily exhales slowly. "May I see the terms?" He slides the folder toward her. Inside is a neatly organized contract, printed on thick paper, the kind reserved for deals that matter. Her name is already there, correctly spelled. That alone unsettles her. Alexander speaks as she reads. "The duration is 6 months," he says. "Public appearances only, 5 events. No interviews without approval, no social media statements." Her eyes move down the page. "Compensation will be deposited monthly," he continues. "Enough to cover personal obligations, including medical expenses." Her breath catches, just for a second. "There are boundaries," he adds. "Clear ones." Emily looks up. "No romantic involvement," Alexander says. "No physical intimacy, no jealousy. What happens in public does not follow us into private life." She swallows. "And confidentiality," he finishes. "This arrangement does not exist outside of this room." Emily reads the clause twice, then a third time. "This is a marriage on paper," she says quietly. "Not a relationship." "That is correct," Alexander replies. She flips to the final page. A simple ring rests beside the contract. Silver, unadorned, no diamond, no sentiment. It looks almost intentionally plain. "That will be sufficient for appearances," Alexander says. "Anything more would invite questions." Emily stares at the ring. It is not beautiful. It is not romantic. It is functional. Like her. "What happens after 6 months?" she asks. Alexander does not hesitate. The contract ends. "Publicly, we part amicably. Privately, we return to our respective lives." 2,000. She thinks of her mother, of hospital corridors, of bills stacked neatly on her kitchen counter because chaos feels worse. She thinks of the phone call, of time running out. "And if one of us breaks the rules?" she asks. Alexander folds his hands on the table. Then the agreement is void. Emily lets out a small, humorless breath. "You make it sound very simple." "It is simple," he says. "It is just not easy." Silence settles between them. Emily reaches for the pen. Her hand hesitates above the page. She has signed leases, employment agreements, medical consent forms. This feels heavier than all of them combined. "If I do this," she says, her voice steady despite the weight in her chest, "I will not be treated like an accessory." Alexander inclines his head slightly. "You will be treated with respect." "That is not the same thing," she replies. He considers her for a moment. Then he nods once. "You will be treated as my equal in public." It is the closest thing to a concession she expects. Emily signs her name. The pen scratches softly against the paper, loud in the quiet room. When she finishes, Alexander signs beneath her signature, his handwriting precise, decisive. The contract is complete. He slides the ring toward her. Emily picks it up. It is cool against her skin. "This does not change who I am," she says, more to herself than to him. Alexander watches her carefully. "No," he says, "but it will change how the world sees you." She slips the ring onto her finger. It fits perfectly. The 5th event arrives without warning. It is not a gala or a charity dinner. It is a shareholder briefing scheduled last minute, moved from a closed meeting to a semi-public forum after a leak hits the financial press that morning. The headline is already spreading by the time Emily steps out of the car. Read. Consolidated faces. Internal instability ahead of merger vote. Inside the building, tension hangs thick in the air. Executives speak in low voices. Phones vibrate constantly. The atmosphere feels brittle, like one wrong word could crack everything open. Alexander walks faster than usual. Emily matches his pace. In the holding room, a senior advisor pulls Alexander aside, whispering urgently. Emily stays where she is, hands folded, listening without appearing to listen. She catches fragments. Concern about investor confidence. Questions about leadership continuity. Pressure to present a united front. Alexander turns back to her. There will be questions, he says. They will test us. Emily nods once, then let them. The room fills quickly. Cameras line the walls. Analysts and shareholders take their seats, eyes sharp, pens ready. Alexander takes the podium. Emily sits slightly behind him, to the side, visible but not central. The presentation begins smoothly. Financials, projections, strategic reassurances. Then a hand goes up. Mr. Reed, a man in the third row, says, voice steady but pointed. Given the recent reports, can you address concerns about instability within your leadership team? Alexander answers with practiced calm. Another hand rises. And does your recent marriage have any bearing on these changes? A woman asks. Some investors are concerned this is a distraction. A ripple moves through the room. Emily feels it before she sees it. The shift, the eyes turning toward her, the unspoken question hanging in the air. Alexander hesitates. Just for a fraction of a second. Emily stands. The movement is subtle, but it draws attention immediately. She does not wait to be invited. She steps forward, her posture composed, her expression steady. If I may, she says. The moderator glances at Alexander. Alexander looks at her. Then he nods. Emily faces the room. I understand the concern, she begins. Change often looks like instability from the outside. But what I have seen inside this company is discipline, clarity, and leadership that does not waver under pressure. She pauses, letting the words settle. My presence here is not a distraction, she continues. It is part of that stability. This merger is not built on impulse. It is built on preparation, and I would not stand here if I believed otherwise. Silence. Then a murmur. Not skepticism. Consideration. She steps back. Alexander resumes speaking, his voice stronger now, more certain. The questions continue, but the tone has changed. The edge dulls. The room steadies. When the session ends, applause follows. Not loud, not dramatic, but real. Backstage, Alexander turns to her. You did not have to step in, he says quietly. Emily meets his eyes. You hired me because I anticipate problems before they become crises. This was not your job, he says. She tilts her head slightly. Neither was pretending to be your wife. A corner of his mouth tightens, almost a smile. Later, as they leave the building, reporters shout questions. Cameras flash. Someone calls her name. Emily does not flinch. Alexander places a hand at her back. Instinctive now, protective without calculation. The test is over. And for the first time, the room did not just accept her. It trusted her. The night comes quietly. No cameras, no advisors, no schedules blinking on a tablet. Just the soft hum of the city beyond the penthouse windows and the muted glow of lights reflecting off the glass. Emily stands at the kitchen counter, loosening the clasp of her bracelet. The ring is still on her finger. She notices it more at night, when there is no audience to perform for and no reason to keep the illusion perfectly in place. Alexander pours 2 glasses of water and slides one toward her. The gesture is unremarkable, but it feels different, less calculated, less rehearsed. You handled yourself well today, he says. Emily accepts the glass. You already said that? I did not say it like this, he replies. She looks at him then, really looks at him. The man in front of her is not the controlled figure from the boardroom or the composed presence beside her at events. His tie is loosened. His jacket is gone. The weight he carries is visible now, settled into his shoulders. They drink in silence for a moment. Why did you hesitate today? Emily asks suddenly. Alexander stiffens. I did not. You did, she says calmly. Before you nodded. It was brief, but it was there. He sets his glass down. Because it was not part of the plan, he says, and I do not like variables. Emily nods, as if that explains everything. You do not like being seen as vulnerable. His gaze sharpens. That is not vulnerability. It is, she replies. You just call it something else. The words hang between them, honest and unguarded. Alexander looks away toward the window. The city stretches below, endless and indifferent. People do not invest in uncertainty, he says quietly. They invest in control. Emily steps closer, not invading his space, just enough to be present. And what do you invest in? He does not answer immediately. When I was younger, he says finally, I learned that attachment is a liability. The moment you care, you give someone leverage. Emily considers this. And yet you offered me a contract instead of a stranger. You were convenient, he says automatically. She waits. The silence stretches. That is not true, he admits. Emily exhales softly. I am not here to take anything from you. Alexander turns to face her. Then why are you here? She thinks of the phone call, of her mother, of the fear she carries quietly, every day. Because sometimes survival looks like compromise, she says, and sometimes compromise becomes something else. Anywhere. Thanks for watching. His eyes search her face, as if trying to understand the shape of something unfamiliar. I do not want to be another asset, Emily adds. I will not disappear into this role. You have not, he says. It surprises both of them. The space between them feels charged now, not with desire but with recognition. Two people standing at the edge of something they agreed not to cross. Emily reaches up and removes the ring, placing it on the counter between them. This stays here tonight, she says. No cameras, no expectations. Alexander watches the ring, then looks back at her. You are changing the terms. I am reminding you of them, she replies. He nods slowly. They stand there for another moment, neither moving, neither stepping back. The contract still exists. The boundaries are still in place. But something has shifted, subtle and irreversible. Emily turns toward the hallway. Good night, Alexander, she says. Good night, Emily, he replies. As she walks away, he does not follow. He does not call her back. But he does not look away from the ring either. And for the first time, the silence does not feel like control. It feels like restraint. The blow does not come from the outside. It comes from inside the building. Emily senses it before anyone says a word. The atmosphere shifts the moment she steps into the lobby the next morning. Conversations stop when she passes. Phones lower. Eyes linger a second too long. In the elevator, her phone vibrates. Once. She ignores it. It vibrates again. A message this time. No sender name, just a link. She does not open it until she reaches her desk. The headline hits first. Reed CEO's marriage questioned after leaked call with unknown man. Her blood runs cold. Below the headline is a still image, grainy, cropped. Her, in the hallway outside the conference room, phone to her ear, expression tense, vulnerable, private. There is no audio, no context, just implication. Emily scrolls. Speculation fills the screen. Words like arrangement, distraction, liability. Her name appears more times than she can count, spelled correctly, finally remembered. She looks up. Across the floor, Alexander Reed stands frozen, his phone clenched in his hand. An advisor speaks urgently beside him, but Alexander does not respond. His eyes are locked on her. Not curious, not searching, accusing. The board meeting is moved up without explanation. Emily is instructed to attend. When she enters the room, the air feels sharp enough to cut. The same long table, the same city view. Nothing feels the same. Alexander does not look at her as she takes her seat. The first board member speaks. We need to address the leak. Another follows. Investor confidence is already fragile. A third does not bother with pretense. Is the marriage a distraction, or is it a risk? Alexander's jaw tightens. Then someone slides a printed photo across the table. Emily's phone call. This was taken inside our building, the board member says, during a critical meeting. Alexander finally looks at her. Who was on the phone? He asks. His voice is controlled. Too controlled? Emily opens her mouth to answer. You assured me this would not interfere with your work, he continues, his tone sharpening. You said it was personal. It was, she says. Personal enough to leak? He asks. The room goes silent. Emily feels every eye on her, weighing her worth, measuring the damage she represents. I did not leak anything, she says steadily. and I did not break the contract. Then explain the call, Alexander says. Explain why another man feels comfortable reaching you during a board meeting. The words land hard. Emily's chest tightens. You did not ask before. That's plays, in the place time. I am asking now, he replies. Not privately, not gently, publicly. Emily stands. The call was from my mother's lawyer, she says, her voice clear despite the pressure. Regarding a medical deadline I could not afford to miss. A murmur moves through the room. And I did not take it because I wanted to, she continues. I took it because my life does not pause just because yours is inconvenient. Alexander's eyes darken. This arrangement requires discretion, he says, and trust. Recorded and with batted. And trust does not mean ownership, Emily replies. The room shifts again, this time uncomfortably. Alexander rises from his chair. This meeting is adjourned, he says abruptly. Advisors protest. Board members object. Alexander does not listen. He turns to Emily. My office. Now, the door closes behind them with a sharp finality. What were you thinking? He demands. Emily meets his anger head on. I was thinking that you do not get to interrogate me like a liability. Revel in that. You embarrassed me, he snaps. I protected you, she fires back. And this is how you repay that? This was a mistake, Alexander says, pacing now. This contract, this arrangement. The words cut deeper than he intends. Emily stills. If you believe that, she says quietly, then you never saw me at all. She turns and walks out before he can stop her. Outside, reporters wait. Cameras flash. Someone shouts her name. Emily does not look back. Inside his office, Alexander Reed stands alone, anger burning through him, louder than reason. And for the first time since signing the contract, he realizes something too late. This is not control. This is fear. The fallout is immediate. By noon, the company's communications team releases a holding statement. Neutral language, no denials, no confirmations. The stock dips, then steadies, suspended in uncertainty. Inside the penthouse, silence stretches like a held breath. Emily does not return. Alexander stands by the window long after night falls, replaying the moment she walked out. The words, he said. The tone he used. The way he chose control over curiosity. His phone buzzes. It is not a reporter. It is his legal counsel. We have identified the source of the leak, the lawyer says. It did not come from your wife. Alexander closes his eyes. Who did it come from? A junior facilities contractor, the lawyer replies. He was paid to install a hallway camera weeks ago. The payment traces back to a shell account connected to a rival firm. They wanted to destabilize the merger. And the call? Alexander asks. There is audio, the lawyer says. It was edited out of the leak. The full recording confirms her explanation. Medical counsel. Time sensitive, nothing inappropriate. The truth lands with a dull finality. Alexander ends the call and turns back to the empty room. The ring still sits on the counter where Emily left it. He realizes, with a clarity that cuts through everything else, that the contract never prepared him for this part. The choice. He does not call her immediately. Instead, he does something he has not done in years. He goes to the hospital, listed on the contract, the one he approved payments for without asking questions. He walks past the reception desk, past the quiet waiting area, and finds Emily sitting alone in a hallway chair, a file folder clutched to her chest. She looks smaller here, tired, real. Emily, he says. She looks up, surprised, guarded. You should not be here. I know, he replies, but I am. They stand in silence, the hum of medical equipment filling the space between them. I was wrong, Alexander says finally, about the call, about you. She says nothing. I let fear speak for me, he continues. Fear of losing control, fear of being exposed. Emily exhales slowly. You treated me like a liability. Yes, he admits, and I was wrong to do that. She studies his face, searching for calculation. Finding none. The leak did not come from you, he adds. I know that now. I told you the truth, she says quietly. I did not listen, he replies. The words cost him. He lets them. I am not here to enforce the contract, Alexander says. I am here to give you a choice. She stiffens. A choice between what and what? Between walking away with everything you were promised, he says, or staying because you want to. Emily's grip tightens on the folder. And what do you want? He does not hesitate this time. I want to tear up the contract, Alexander says, publicly if necessary. I want to face the board, the press, the consequences. I want you to know that if you stand beside me again, it will not be because of an agreement. It will be because you choose to. Emily looks down the hallway, where her mother's room waits, where reality has never been negotiable. You do not get to decide when I am real, she says. You had your chance. I know, he replies. That is why I am asking, not demanding. She stands. For the first time since we met, Emily says, you are not the one with leverage. And unforgettable, I am aware, Alexander answers. They walk outside together, not touching. Cameras catch them at the entrance. Questions fly. Microphones press forward. Emily stops. She turns to Alexander. If we do this, we do it my way. He nods. Tell me. Twofold. No more contracts, she says. No more pretending. You trust me in public and in private, or this ends now. Alexander meets her eyes. Agreed. Emily steps forward and faces the cameras. There has been speculation, she says calmly. Here is the truth. I am not a distraction. I am a partner by choice, not by contract. And if that is a problem, then I am not the one who should be questioned. Alexander stands beside her, silent, unwavering. In that moment, the world sees it. Not an arrangement, a decision. The days that follow are quieter than Emily expects. There are no dramatic headlines, no sudden reversals, just steady, deliberate movement forward. The board meets. Statements are clarified. The merger stabilizes. The rival firm quietly retreats as the investigation concludes. Inside the penthouse, something else settles into place. Alexander sits at the dining table with the contract laid out in front of him for the last time. No lawyers, no advisors, just paper and ink and the consequences of both. Emily stands across from him, arms folded, watching not as an assistant or a wife, but as an equal. This document no longer serves either of us, Alexander says. He does not ask permission. He takes the contract and tears it cleanly down the center. Once, then again. The sound is sharp, final. He places the pieces in the trash without ceremony. Emily exhales. The ring follows. Alexander lifts it from the counter and sets it beside the torn paper. This was meant to be a symbol, he says. It became a shield instead. Emily picks it up, turns it slowly between her fingers. Symbols change, she says. Intent matters. What of this visit? She slides the ring back onto her finger, not because she is required to, but because she chooses to. Alexander looks at her then, really looks at her, without calculation or control. I will not ask you to stay, he says. I will ask you to walk beside me. Emily considers the man in front of her, the power he holds, the mistakes he has made, the way he stood silent and steady when she spoke, letting the world hear her voice. I am not invisible, she says. I know, Alexander replies. They step into the next public appearance together without rehearsal. No script, no contract, just presence. The press notices immediately. The tone has changed. The distance is gone. There is no performance, only alignment. Questions come. Emily answers some. Alexander answers others. Neither interrupts, neither leads. They move as two people who trust each other to speak. Later that night, they return home. The penthouse no longer feels like a stage. It feels lived in. Emily leaves her coat on the chair instead of placing it perfectly away. Alexander loosens his tie and leaves it there. They sit on opposite ends of the couch, the city lights flickering below. I do not know what this becomes, Emily says. Neither do I, Alexander replies. But I know what it is not. It is not a transaction, she says. It is not ownership, he agrees. Silence settles comfortably this time. In the weeks that follow, Emily does something unexpected. She turns in her resignation as executive assistant. The board panics. Advisors scramble. Alexander does not. He meets her in the same private conference room where it all began. You are leaving, he says. I am changing roles, Emily replies. If I am going to stand beside you, it will not be from behind your chair. Alexander considers this, then smiles. Not the practiced kind, the real one. What would you propose? She slides a folder across the table. Not a contract, a plan. He reads it carefully. Then he signs his name at the bottom, without edits. Months later, the merger closes. At the celebration, someone asks how they survived the scandal. Emily answers first. We chose honesty over convenience, she says. Alexander adds, and partnership over control. The ring on her finger catches the light. It no longer represents an agreement. It represents a decision, not made once, but chosen every day.